The JSC interviews continue today with 10 candidates shortlisted for 4 vacancies in the Western Cape High Court. Let's go to our reporter who's covering the interviews, Canny Mapanga. I'm sure this has been such an interesting process, Canny, but let's perhaps focus on today, those prominent among the candidates being interviewed today.
Well, indeed, good morning to you, Leanne, and to the viewers at home. Actually, it is 9 candidates that will be interviewed for 4 judicial vacancies in the Western Cape High Court division. That follows Mr. Khalil. You may remember him earlier last week when he was called out for raising his hand for multiple divisions of the High Court, and then he subsequently withdrew and only availed himself for the KZN High Court division. So we're expecting 9 of those candidates this morning from 9 a.m., one of which is a senior counsel. I think one is also an academic as well. So it'll be interesting to see if the JSC is able to fill all those 4 judicial vacancies. We saw yesterday that it was quite a marathon of interviews, Leanne, for the search for the Judge President of the Western Cape Division of the High Court. Of course, Judge Nolwazi Mabindla Boqwana was successful in her bid there, where she presented quite an outstanding presentation to the JSC about her vision for the Western Cape Division, as well as her expertise and merit, and then, of course, what her appointment does for the transformation targets, as she is a senior judge, and of course she is a black woman that will be heading into that Western Cape division. This follows a series of interviews that were quite not what the public may have been expecting. You saw that the acting DJP and the acting judge president of that division, that is Judge Patricia Goliath, availed themselves for interviews yesterday to raise their hand for the top judge of that post. That interview of Judge Patricia Goliath took about 4 hours to get through, as they went through her leadership style and the number of issues or concerns that were raised. I think when she presented her presentation to the JSC earlier that morning, she gave off the image that in her acting stint, which is almost 2 years at the Western Cape Division, that she was able to stabilize that division following the fallout between her and the impeached former judge president, Dr. John Hlophe. However, we didn't expect to see a comment brought to the fore of a senior judge in that division who raised questions, significant concerns about her leadership style, which I think the JSC took into consideration when they made that final decision. Of course, that obviously did play a part, we think, in sinking those 2 interviews of the senior leaders who had been acting for the past 2 years but were unable to demonstrate to the JSC how they could turn that division around. Also, another important factor apologies, when we watch those interviews, is that we can still see the stain, or the impact rather, of the fallout between those 2 former leaders, or one is still currently a leader because Judge Patricia Goliath will go back to the Deputy Judge President role and she'll support the new Judge President as she leads that division. But the impact, or the stain rather, of that fallout and what it still has on that division couldn't quite get to the root cause that they are dealing with right now, but there are still critical issues that the new Judge President will have to iron out as an outsider coming in and lead and unite that division so that they are able to be strengthened as a division and attract more candidates to serve in that court. Today, the focus is purely on filling those 4 judicial vacancies that exist, and hopefully the JSC is able to fulfill its mandate and recommend 4 candidates to the President to appoint to the Western Cape Division to not only strengthen it, but to ensure access to justice to the people of the Western Cape. Those interviews will be beginning at 9 a.m. this morning, and of course SABC News will be giving you that rolling coverage when those interviews begin, as we begin to draw a close to the October leg of the JSC interviews.